So, Cal, obviously away days and Champions League, they're usually known for the top sides, the big sides in the Premier League in England. Like yourself, a Liverpool fan, many trips away, many memories, especially 2005. You know, Jurgen Klopp, Chelsea have had it, Arsenal, Man United, and City this season as well. It perfectly sums up. Teams in England have a lot of history in Europe. Now, I'm going to go into the story time intro just in a second, but while we're doing that intro, I want you to think of the club that I'm going to speak about in a second. Welcome to the Talk Nonsense Story Time. Now, I will give you three guesses at what club I'm going to speak about now. It's in the 1999-2000 season. Do you want to have a guess?
Oh, right. I'm going with... It's not one of those big boys, is it?
No.
But they're a Champions League team. Oh, God, I don't know.
I just meant as in Europe in general. Europe in general, not just Champions League. That's a little hazard.
Olympiacos.
Today, we're going to speak about a club that's currently in League Two. A team that currently played in the playoffs in the this season under Mark Hughes. Bradford City once embarked on a bizarre European campaign thanks to an unlikely escape from the Premier League season 1990-2000. The cup run led the Bantams on a trip to Lithuania, the Netherlands, and Russia, and gave former Arsenal forward Andrei Arshavin his first taste of European football.
God.
Avoiding relegation to the Premier League in their inaugural season thanks to a home win against Cal's team Liverpool on the final day, Bradford were entered into the 2000 UEFA Intertoto Cup. Do you remember that competition?
I do, yeah.
The Intertoto Cup is arguably one of the stranger competitions that has existed in the European competition history, with three winners instead of the usual one. Victorious sides would earn the qualification to the UEFA Cup later in the same season, meaning that this was a very early start, by the way. This is the cup that they would get. Blackburn won it once. Newcastle and Aston Villa, I believe, won it as well. The competition was aimed at mid-sized clubs across Europe and was more invitational-based rather than success-driven. So you could basically say no to it. After an unnamed Italian team pulled out of the competition in 2000, Bradford chairman Jeffrey Richmond applied and the club were invited to join the competition by UEFA. So they finished 17th in the league and they're currently in Europe, which is a great story. It's a nice little story there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. It's a bit bizarre.
It's about to get a little bit more strange. The start was beyond rocky. Manager Paul Jewell, who had led the Bantams to the Premier League, then produced a miracle to save them from the drop the season after, resigned after allegedly never hearing that his team would be playing in the Intertoto Cup this season. This was followed up by the fact that 7 first-team players would miss the first leg of their first match in the competition due to already organising much-deserved summer holiday, which they were reluctant to cancel. So half the team weren't there. The manager had left. I will leave that image just to soak in on the screen right now. The second round, City had a bye in the first, by the way, would match up the West Yorkshire side with FK Atlantis, and this is the stadium. Not so glamorous trip to the port city of Klaipėda in Lithuania awaited. Prior to the game, there was more calamity in store as the club's charter flight was hit by technical problems, which led to lengthy delays. On the pitch, though, it went well for the Yorkshire side and the 30 travelling fans in Lithuania. 30, by the way. Goals from Rankin, Dean Windass and Robbie Blake, and a youthful looking City won the first leg 3-1. Over 10,000 home fans turned up to the second leg a week later to Valley Parade, with around 70 Atlantis fans making it the trip to the Leeds Bradford airport. Supposedly only 10 or so fans actually turned for the match. Do you want to know why the other 20 didn't?
Got a few ideas going around my
Supposedly so. It was widely believed that the other 20 or so fans used the trip to enter Britain on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
Legally, illegally, I'm not too sure. Bradford ran out comfortably 4-1. Well done. Wait. and won the legs 7-2 in aggregate to progress. With perhaps the best moment of the match coming in the last minute with a consolation for the FK Atlantis fans. After bending a superb free kick into the top corner, Carolus celebrated wildly, ended up in the away section of the crowd at the far end of the pitch. So he did like a Adebayor-esque type thing. Yeah. The Lithuanians had been dispatched by the far superior team, which would lead the Bantams into the next round. Congratulations to Bradford. The third round of the Intertoto Cup that season pitted Bradford against Dutch side RKC Waalwijk. And this is the first image that I found of them.
Nice.
Despite their low profile across Europe at the time, Waalwijk would go on to finish 6th in the Eredivisie later that season. Under which famous manager? Carl, would you want to guess? A Dutch manager around that time?
Dutch manager? Ronald Koeman?
No, Premier League manager eventually. A couple of years later.
Spurs.
Martin
Jol.
Martin Jol. That's the one. Martin Jol. The home leg first for Bradford this time. The score finished 2-0 with striker, and I couldn't find the image, so we'll use this one. Dean Windass grabbing both goals. City played well, took the lead, and then a week later to the Netherlands, according to reports on the arrival at Waalwijk. Bradford City were met by a large police presence, dressed in full right gear, expecting the usual English hooligans and stereotypes to have made the short trip from Yorkshire. The local police were surprised to find that many Bradford fans were in fact families, treating the match as reasons to go on holiday. So a nice little story again, on top of the story. To divulge into the game on the pitch, it was Bradford who would once again score and claim the win. Even though Windass missed an early first half penalty, it was strike partner Lee Mills who was on hand to finish the tie in the 81st minute. Bantams won the leg 1-0 and the tie 3-0. It was plain sailing for the Bantams on their European adventures so far, but the side's fortune were about to drastically change.
Oh, God. There's always a but.
Round 4. And the City's opponents this time would be Russian side, Zenit St. Petersburg. Zenit were by far the strongest side Bradford would face in the Intertoto Cup, and due to the Russians' domestic calendar, they're already halfway through the season. Fitness would play a pivotal part into the two legs, with fatigue catching up on the Bradford players late on during the second leg. Whilst Zenit's team were fully fit, Bradford's were effectively in week 5 of their pre-season regime. And by the way, this is about mid-July. We're already at, so shows how early it was. And they started way too early. City were drawn away in the first leg and had an army of 12 Bradford fans who would follow them to northern Russia.
I wonder if it's the same, 10 to 15 people every time.
Maybe. Imagine. It's just the 10 fans from the Lithuanian side. It's just gone back over.
We love that.
In the first leg, Bantams escaped with only 1-0 loss away at Zenit, but they did dominate the play. But the worst was to come a week later at Valley Parade. Despite City's holding on for most of another one-sided match in West Yorkshire, Zenit would eventually run out 3-0 winners. The double from I don't want to say. I'm just not going to get it right. A late strike from Tarazov, I can say that. During the second leg, former Arsenal forward. We'll go back to him again. Why not? Andrei Arshavin made his senior debut early in the first half as a substitute for the away side. Out of the Intertoto Cup, the Bantams now had to focus on the upcoming 2000-2001 Premier League season, which was still 2 weeks away after defeat to Zenit. That shows how early it is. At first, the decision to accept the UEFA invitation to the competition and play this summer looked like it paid off with a solid start, beating Chelsea at home, grabbing an unlikely draw against an unbelievable Arsenal side at the time, and Leicester. I don't know why they included Leicester in the story. In the end, it wasn't to be for Bradford City, who enjoyed relegation that season. 26
look
points.
who else. Lovely.
Blackburn aren't in that. The relegation spiraled the club into 2 administrations, and dropped the West Yorkshire side into the lower leagues of football, where a place where the Bantams are yet to emerge from, despite a recent famous cup run, and I'm sure that will be another story for another time. The fact remains, though, whether you knew about it before or not, Bradford City have played in Europe, and that's a proud memory for their fans, who will still probably cherish that fateful day and that fateful trip throughout that tournament. The Intertoto Cup, Cal, do you remember it well?
Not well. I remember.
No.
I always used to laugh at the name when I was a kid. I thought it was just a stupid
Yeah.
name for a trophy. That was. I
Did
didn't
you
know
know
the
it was,
trophy looked like that, and I didn't know that there were multiple winners either. So I've learned something from story time. And that's what I always want to get out of story time. That's what I want from it. I want to learn something. And the Barcelona one, I always go back to that. I watch it so often. I'm like, that's just brilliant. Like, you forget, don't you? You forget things that have happened, and then when it goes into depth like that, and it's each little bit, you think, wow, I missed that, but I enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah, and absolutely, and why not accept that? I don't know why you would never. It's time in Europe for the fans. Why not? Even going to Zenit St. Petersburg. Like I say, I remember Blackburn being in it, but I just briefly remember it. I think it was a couple of games, and we're in the UEFA Cup. So, yeah, people compare this to the Conference League. It's worlds apart because it was honestly 3 games, and you were done in pre-season. So. There was story time. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Bradford City fans, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sure we will link this in the description for all you guys. If you have any other story times that you'd like us to well, primarily myself because I like doing it and researching. But Carl, you're more than welcome to do it yourself as well. I didn't make it enough. Just let us know in the comments. Let DM us individual stories or articles that we could potentially talk about. But yeah, there we go. And there is Bradford City. So we'll see you all very, very soon. And hope you all have a lovely day. See you later, guys.